Shanna Gardner was born into wealth. Her parents had money, lots of it. She was also raised in a devout Mormon home. She met a man named Jared Bridegan during a trip to Florida. Jared was also a devout Mormon. They fell in love, got married, and moved to Jared's hometown in Jacksonville, Florida, for the health of one of their children. It was here in Florida where things went south. Marital problems, allegations of cheating, and ultimately divorce. Then came the endless custody battles concerning the twins. Now, they both remarried, and Jared started a new family while Shanna did not have any more children with her new husband, Mario Fernandez. Then, one day after a custody drop-off, Jared was murdered. Shanna skipped the funeral and moved to Washington State without her new husband. Then, the killer was arrested. Mario was arrested. And finally, Shanna was arrested, charged with a murder for hire plot and facing a potential death sentence. Shanna was in court today trying to get out before her upcoming trial. But first, Whitesburg, Kentucky is a small rural community of under 2,000 residents. It's the kind of place where everyone knows each other, and in many circumstances, they have both personal and professional connections. It's a place where the word homicide is rarely spoken. In fact, it was one of the few places where you could walk into the courthouse without going through a metal detector. But that feeling of comfort and safety was shaken on the afternoon of September 19th. That's when prosecutors say the elected sheriff, Mickey Stines, walked into the chambers of District Judge Kevin Mullins for a private meeting. What allegedly happened next, no one in this small town expected. Prosecutors say the sheriff fired his gun several times, taking the life of Judge Mullins. The sheriff then walked into the courtroom, laid down his gun, and surrendered himself. Sheriff Mickey Stines is now charged with first-degree murder, and the community of Whitesburg is trying to understand how and why this happened. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And everyone is talking about this story. So shocking, so surprising, and trying to figure out what's going on here. You know, all of this is taking place in Letcher County, Kentucky, small community. Whitesburg is the town. I mean, small town. This is a place where everybody knows each other. Less than 2,000 people. So when something like this happens, everyone begins to talk about it. And a lot of people are directly impacted by it because of the connections, because the community is so small and so tight. Mickey Stines, the defendant, the accused killer, is a popular sheriff. He's elected by the people of this community. And, you know, go through his Facebook page. Looks like just a regular small-town sheriff. Pictures of his family, taking a ride out on the ATV, driving through some mud. I mean, normal stuff. So where did this come from? What was going on here? And then you talk about the judge, Judge Kevin Mullins, respected judge. Same thing. And they know each other. Everyone knows one another. So when you think about a courthouse shooting, the first thing you think is, oh my goodness, what criminal defendant grabbed a deputy's gun, right? It's the first thing you think about. But that's not what happened here. It's the sheriff himself inside the courthouse that he is supposed to protect, taking out one of the people he's supposed to protect, the judge, which has everyone asking, why? Why? Now, we know in murder cases, prosecutors don't have to prove a motive. It's not an element of the crime. But here, it's everything in this case, because it seems pretty clear what happened. He surrendered himself. There are witnesses, there's videos, there's a lot of evidence here. This isn't a whodunit. This isn't a what just happened. This is a why did this happen? So, Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson on the ground in Kentucky tonight. I'm looking at, let's just listen for a second. I hear nothing in the background. You are not in the middle of Massachusetts. You are in the middle of small town USA in Kentucky tonight, Matt.
Small town USA at its finest, Vinny. And yeah, you might hear the rain because that's the eerie sound of nothing happening on this main street that basically looks like those old Norman Rockwell, magazines. You have about 10, 20 storefronts on this main street here, and then the courthouse that pops up out of nowhere. This is in a very tiny town where everybody knows everybody else. This is on the Virginia border. And this is about 2 miles, or 2 hours rather, from any major airport, any major city, including Lexington, which is more than 146 miles away. Everyone that I've spoken to, they love the sheriff, and they also love this judge. Sheriff Mickey Stines, who's now the suspect, and then Judge Kevin Mullins, and they are in absolute shock tonight. Behind me, the courthouse, this is the crime scene. Everyone tells me that they heard gunshots around lunchtime on Thursday. The two men had just gone to lunch. They walked back into judge's chambers over here in this courthouse behind me, and then got into some sort of argument, according to Kentucky State Police, that is heading up this investigation. We don't know what was said, but we know that the victim, the judge, was shot multiple times, died here at the scene. And then people across the street say that they work at the one of the banks in the county here. They say that they watched the suspect, the sheriff, walk out slowly, hold his hands up, and turn himself in. Everybody tonight wondering why this happened in the first place. What could be the motive between these two who were friends?
It's an unreal story. It's unexpected. No one, sometimes there's like bad blood, they're political enemies, whatever. That's not the case here. That's just not the case. So what's next now for the sheriff after putting the hands up and turning himself in immediately after?
Right, it's hard to wrap your mind around what's happening because you have this sheriff who was sworn to protect and serve and protect this judge and the other judges in the area. That was his responsibility. Well, he's going to face a judge of his own come Wednesday. That is going to be a video arraignment. He right now is being held in a jail facility, not in his own county, obviously. And then he is going to be held a virtual arraignment, first appearance on Wednesday. This was posted on social media on Facebook from Attorney General Russell Coleman, basically saying Sheriff Shawn Mickey Stines will be arraigned in the Letcher County District Court on Wednesday, virtually before a special judge. Commonwealth Attorney Jackie Steele is also going to be specially assigned to this case because Matt Butler, who is the Commonwealth attorney that oversees this area, he also knows the victim and the suspect. He knows the suspect because they were friends. They had worked together in the past. And then he also knows the victim because they were once related by marriage. Take a listen to his statement.
Yeah, we're very tight-knit. It's sad all the way around. I think everybody's kind of mourning in their own way.
It seems like everybody knew the two gentlemen involved.
My office is recusing, or has recused, out of the prosecution of Sheriff Mickey Stines related to the death of Kevin Mullins. Many of you are aware of the close personal relationship I had with Judge Mullins. You may know, for example, that we, for many years, were married to a pair of sisters. I had a close professional relationship with Sheriff Mickey Stines. A staff member of mine was in the judicial suite, or the district court suite, at the time this happened, and would likely be a witness in this case. And so it is customary and it is expected in this case that me and my entire office recuse.
So that's also another interesting part of our investigation, right, Vinny? Because a lot of these folks that are family members or friends, they can't speak to the media because they're going to be witnesses in this case. And we actually saw that over the weekend. There was funeral services held for the victim, for this beloved judge in the area. And a lot of the family members didn't even address the dozens and hundreds of people that showed up from the county to pay their respects because this is still an ongoing investigation and they didn't want to get involved in any of that.
Yeah, The conflicts are obvious, right? Because these are people involved in law enforcement to begin with, right? Or system of justice. The judge, right? There's just one judge in that courthouse. He was shot, he was killed, so now there's no judge, you're bringing a special judge. There's like the prosecutor, and he's great friends with the judge and family member with the judge. So in a small community like that, you're gonna have those conflicts, but especially when the crime scene, as you pointed out, is the courthouse behind you, and our system has to deal with this. So he's not there, but the actual hearing will be coming out of the courthouse behind you, like the crime scene?
That's what Court TV has been told, that the hearing will be held here virtually, but by a special prosecutor and a special judge, so that there isn't that conflict of interest. But this plays out on Wednesday at 11 o'clock, and of course, Court TV is going to be there covering it all.
Yeah, and we'll see what, if anyone, says about the why of it, the backstory on what happened here, whether the prosecutor lays it out in front of the judge, if there's a bond application. It's just, a sheriff knows what's going to happen. Like, he does this, he walks out, he knows he's going to be locked up. Like, he knows it, he surrenders himself. So let's talk about the community, because to me that's a big part of this story. And are people speaking? Are people speaking?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, well, not everybody. So the folks here at the courthouse, they've stopped speaking. They've been told not to speak to the media. We've been walking up and down, and we've been talking to, everyday people in the community. And you heard a little bit about that, and I want to replay that clip that we have, because that's really the sentiment from this small town of about 1,700 people or so. Everybody knows everybody else, and everybody in shock. They're looking over at the courthouse, which is the crime scene. They see the flag at half staff, and then they're just wondering why. Take a listen to this.
Yeah, we're very tight-knit. It's sad all the way around. I think everybody's kind of mourning in their own way.
It seems like everybody knew the two gentlemen involved.
Very well. We have one of the only restaurants downtown, and they frequent often, and were very good to us, both of them. So no negativity from my end.
What was your reaction when you heard the news last week?
Very shocked. Very shocked.
Okay, so they're in shock. They're searching for answers. Everyday people. And then you have the family members, obviously, wanting to know more about this investigation. Then you have the people that worked in this building, Vinny, including a man by the name of Mike Watt, who was the clerk for the judge, worked with both of them. He's speaking out to the media, and he was asked specifically if he noticed anything unusual about the relationship between the judge and the sheriff. Take a listen.
Was there anything that you knew about that did not seem right about the relationship between these two men?
None at all. None that I knew of. I know both men personally. That they didn't. Either one told me anything that they had a problem with the other, that anything was going on. Both of them has been good for our county and community. The whole county is just devastated over it.
So you have a lot of speculation, you have a lot of questions just swirling around this story. We're just at the tip of the iceberg on this one, Vinny. We're going to continue to investigate.
Absolutely. And you talk about why it would happen. What would take a man who has dedicated his life to his family and to his community as law enforcement? What would drive him to go into a courthouse, into a judge's chamber, and take out the judge? It doesn't make sense until well, it's never going to make sense, but to understand what would take this man on the right and turn him into the man on the left. Matt Johnson, in the middle of it all, in Kentucky, Letcher County. Thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate it. All right. When we come back, we'll bring in our think tank, and we'll go through some more parts of this story and try to figure out how it's going to play out in our system of justice. Plus, coming up next